Thanks for joining in the Pivotal Podcast, where we talk about young adults with young adults. All right, yeah, here we are. Hey, welcome everybody to the Pivotal Podcast with your best friend and mine, Andrea Sawtell. And I'm Jerry Varner, and I have not decided, Andrea, I don't know if I want to take I got a glare on my head. I can't decide if I want to wear the hat or not. I was going Bob Goff. That's really the vibe I was going for. I was trying to channel my inner Bob Goff with this fun little cowboy or baseball hat. Anyway, Andrea, welcome.
Liking the hat.
Thank you. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. That's at any given moment. Jerry's not really sure.
True.
What he's doing. All right. So it is, yes. Okay. I still see the record button and like it wants to be pushed. So we're just going to go in faith, but it does say it's recording. So we're good. All right. Super professional start to the podcast. Right. Yeah. Well, welcome, Andrea, to the Pivotal Podcast. It's been a minute, as the kids say. I don't know if they say that anymore, but it's been a while since we've been together. So catch us up on some of the highlights of what you've been doing.
Okay.
And don't not include the donut situation. We want to know.
Well, that's like the highlight right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm parenting lots, because I'm in the throes of parenting a 10 and 13-year-old. So basically teenagers.
Yeah.
They currently like just are up in the middle of the night. So, I was up at 4 last night with my one kid. So I don't know that I'm getting a ton of sleep.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
That's highlight number one.
I feel like a 10 and a 13-year-old should be sleeping through the night. Are they not at that stage yet?
Well, the 13-year-old is. He was sick last week. So
I'm sorry.
A whole nother story. But yeah, the 10-year-old, not so much. She's just
okay.
So these bags might be from that.
Okay.
But in the throes of parenting, loving parenting a middle schooler, because I've got a house full of middle schoolers a lot, which is super fun. But the highlight is legit the donut truck. Because I've been talking about this for like ever.
Yes.
And I'll give you like in a nutshell. We have bought a third trailer. We just sold the second trailer.
What?
So, yeah, that's like a story for a different day.
Okay.
But this third trailer is a full-size food truck.
Wow.
And so most recently we did like we bought a big donut machine that's going to make the donuts, because before we were outsourcing donuts. So my dream was to make the donuts, and now we are. So they're making these little mini donuts. They are awesome. We tested the machine in our house. Like it's like a commercial grade machine.
What?
Yeah. And so our hope is that we're going to be ready to launch in June, sometime in June. So the health packet, like we have to put in a thing to the health, whatever you call it.
Of course, right.
I don't know what that's called, but that goes in this week. And we have one last thing to do on the inside of the truck before it can be like inspected. So that's being done, I think, while I'm in Honduras, which I'm heading to, 2 weeks from today.
Wow.
So by the time I get back, like we should be ready to roll. I have a menu. I know what we're selling. We have some places like that we want to go. We have an event lined up for sure at the end of August. So we're going to kind of do like a soft launch this summer, but it's called The Donut Story. Yeah. And we have a logo that we're purchasing like vinyls for the outside of the trailer, and it's going to be awesome. So
fun.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know what your limit is as far as like your travel perimeter, but
You want me to come to Virginia?
Come on down. Yeah, we
You are near Buc-ee's, I think. So I feel like that would be worth it.
Oh, okay. All right.
You just tell me what event and I'll come down.
Can we stop for a minute here? Give me your take on Buc-ee's.
I've never been.
You've never been to Buc-ee's?
I've never been. No.
Okay. I know people that wear the shirt, the hat. They're almost on the Disney people level with Buc-ee's. I don't really understand.
I know those people.
I've been to Buc-ee's one time, and no offense to Buc-ee's, I found it. I mean, the food was good. I found it overstimulating. I felt like it was like too much. It was like Buc-ee's, pick a lane. Are you a Walmart or are you a gas station, or are you a takeout? Pick a lane. Anyway,
I've never been, so I can't knock it until I try it. But
yeah,
I feel like it's worth a road trip, and I can make a stop at your house and just bring some donuts. So it's a good day rate.
Yeah. Give me a heads up. I'll alert on my neighborhood Facebook page. I'll tell them the donut truck is coming and be ready. Yeah. Nice. Awesome. Well,
Love
that
it.
is so exciting. And well, yeah, I'm not surprised at how busy you are, but man, you're a busy gal. You got a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, the donut truck is like it's like a side thing, but
Yeah.
I will say this other thing. God has been really cool at answering prayers with that.
Yeah.
Um, I like literally prayed this prayer because I was like, if people don't know, I'm doing it because I want to have access to the community and like
Yeah.
just go and hear people's stories. And so like a couple weeks ago, I was like, I don't know, Lord, like if this is crazy and this is just like of me and my idea, then like take it away, right? Like we're
Yeah.
trying to sell the second trailer where, this is expensive, like it's not cheap to do.
Yeah.
And I said, either take it away or like I need somebody rich to like just drop some money in my lap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like literally 2 days later, somebody came to me and was like, essentially wanted to invest.
Mm, mm.
And I was like,
Won't
all
he
right.
do it?
So it
Woo!
was so cool. So that's again another story for another day. But like God is all over it, and I really do believe it's gonna
Yeah.
like an access point to people and just
Yeah.
wanting to like people to be seen. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm stoked about that. But yeah, it is gonna keep us crazy busy.
Yeah. I think I've said this before, but like you just say the word donut and I'm ready to walk out the door and go get one. So like who's not in the mood for a donut at any given moment?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But listen, you are equally as busy as I am. Only I think you're like doing like legit stuff that probably matters. I see
Yeah,
you do all this cool stuff all the time.
listen,
So
reaching your community with donuts, that's as legit as it gets. So yeah,
oh,
don't downplay that. Yes, we're actually leaving the end of this week to spend 2 weeks in Ohio because my youngest daughter is giving birth to our second grandchild. We have
love
had
that.
our first grandchild born in January, and was a little girl, and now we have a little boy
Oh my
coming. Really,
God.
like any minute now, it could be. She might give birth before we even get there. But yeah, we're traveling on Friday, and we're just going to be, hanging out, changing diapers, trying to help out as best we can.
I
So
love
that's
that.
the big news on our family front. But yeah, let's see. A couple months ago, I was in South Dakota doing it's like it's called what was this one called? Healthy Church Initiative. So it's a
Cool.
district-wide thing, and they had different people come in just to talk about different areas of ministry, and so they brought me in to talk about young adult ministry.
That's
And then
awesome.
last weekend, I was in Nebraska and did another healthy church. Yeah, and so the guy at it's called Global Ministry Center (GMC)
Yep.
in Kansas. He's lining all of these up for different districts all over the country, and so he's kind of got them lined up for
That's
me to come and
cool.
speak. So I'm just speaking to like how do you get young adult ministry going in your
Yep.
context? If you've got it going, what are some next development steps that you can take, that kind of a thing. A little
I
bit of
love it.
vision casting, a little bit of structure.
Yep.
We do a Q&A, that kind of thing. So that's been really fun because as you
So
know, I
fun.
love to travel. I just love, seeing new places. I've never been to Nebraska. It was flat. That's
I was gonna say it's
as
Nebraska.
I was warned it would be. Um, but the flatness of Nebraska also lends itself to beautiful sunset. So I saw an amazing sunset while I was out there. So that
Awesome.
was fun. But yeah, had a good time. Then preached at a local church in Omaha on Sunday morning, and then came back. So yeah,
That's
quick
so cool.
little weekend trip to. Is that the Midwest? I guess as you can see,
That's
I'm the East Coast
100%
guy.
the
I think that's
Midwest.
the Midwest. Yeah.
As somebody
So
that lived in the Midwest at one point,
yes.
it was the
You
Midwest.
know, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's what's been going on with me. So
That's awesome.
as for those of you who have been along this journey, the Pivotal Podcast journey, you know that we normally will have a young adult guest. And Andrea and I decided, hey, let's just do an episode with the two of us and talk about young adult ministry. And so we both kind of crafted some questions just to kind of ask each other, and we'll dialogue some. So that's the framework for this episode. But I can tell you that our next episode, we will have a young adult with us, not just any young adult, but this is an upcoming in the NASCAR world race car driver. Devin George will be with us in our next
Amazing.
episode. So this is actually episode 10, which I'm excited about because we are now double digits. So holla. Yeah. So next episode 11, we'll have Devin George. But yeah, so Andrea, here's my first question for you. Okay, so as someone who walks with young adults, what are some common things that you observe that like they are dealing with and thinking about or whatever?
I'm also laughing because the custodian is vacuuming in the room next to me, but I think it's a very small room, so it'll be done. So if you hear some noise, that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, what am I noticing about like working with young adults? What am I
Yeah.
noticing about them? What am I
Yeah.
noticing
What are some common things you
observing?
see?
I mean, right now, my group that I'm working with kind of skews a little on the older side. Like
Hmm.
it's like, I don't know, the 25 to 30 range.
Okay.
A lot of our like younger people are off to college, and I mean we have some younger, but like right now the heart of our young adult ministry is more like almost 25 to 30-ish. And what I'm noticing is like they are one super hungry to be in the word.
Yeah.
Uh, I think they're super hungry for community, and it's been really it's been cool and sobering all at the same time. But like we do a couple things at our church for young adult ministry, and they'll come to that, but what they've done is they've started to create their own like side stuff off of that.
Mm.
And like they're having Bible studies at each other's houses. They're having like mini worship nights in houses, mini coffee shops in houses. Like there's just this hunger, I think, to be in community and not just to have friends, but like they really want to grow in Christ.
Yeah.
And there's been some stuff that's catalytic to that. Like there's a couple that came to Christ a year ago, like almost a year ago to date. They're actually coming to Honduras with me next in 2 weeks.
Awesome.
But they came out of the recovery world and like really kind of started from nowhere and came to Christ. I just baptized them a couple weeks ago, and they're in like the 35. I think she's 35, he's 37. They're just so on fire for the Lord and in this crazy way are leading like several of our young adults that have been in the church their whole life.
Hmm.
And so I'm watching this like meshing of like, it's not older people, but it's people in their mid 30s, like also kind of leaning in and like they're doing community together.
Yeah.
And some of that is being formed actually in like the area where they're living. So there's I don't know, there's a bunch of people that live in like the next town over and they've kind of started stuff together. So I think there's a little bit of like this community building even within an actual like community setting.
Yeah.
And I'm watching like some young adults cross over from church to church.
Mm.
And not in a way where they're leaving one church, but where they're
Yeah.
almost like kind of double dipping because I
Yeah.
think they want as much stuff as they can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the only other thing I would say I'm like observing too is we have a lot of single young adults that are older, like in their like older as in their later 20s, early
Yeah.
30s, that just desperately want to be dating
Yeah.
and like they don't want to do these dating apps anymore. Like
Yeah.
I think there's also this like I don't know, this hunger to be in relationship.
Yeah.
So those would be
Yeah.
the two big things I've observed.
Yeah, that's good. Something that I want to like touch on because I think this is a dynamic that I've seen in different places, and it's not necessarily just young adults, although it can be in that realm. But it seems like new believers often make the best evangelists. Like
Yes.
why is that? Like it's kind of like before you start to get crusty and religious and like steeped in some type of like routine
Yeah.
that really kind of quelches that or squelches that fire. But I see that happen. And so you're talking about these new believers that are really kind of setting an example and rekindling people that
Yeah.
have just kind of been around church their whole life. Isn't
Yeah.
that interesting?
It's super interesting. I think it's like, it's one thing for like, I mean, this couple in particular, like they are like stumbling on God's word for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're walking with somebody like that like is like asking all these questions, I think it causes you to go like, why am I not asking those
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah.
Have I ever asked those questions?
Yeah.
Do I really know like God's word in a way that like is transformative? And you're watching, I think with new believers, you're watching like literal transformation happen before
Yeah.
your eyes. And I
Yeah.
think that's inspiring. And I think that sparks something in you. Like, yeah, I think and maybe that's why, like, when you think about Jesus and the disciples, like, and all these people following, like, true discipleship was relational. And I think, like, I just think, like, all those things are they're happening together in some
Yeah.
sort of way. And
Yeah.
it's really, really cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's
It's like
awesome.
it's like watching someone like who's never been in love before, and they're in
Yes.
like this love relationship, and it impacts everything they are, and like
Yes.
every thought they have. And so, and I also think it comes down to just hunger. I think those of us who have been walking with Jesus for a while have to
Yeah.
constantly ask ourselves, like, well, what am I hungry for right now?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes it becomes like I'm hungry for comfort, or I'm just hungry for rest because I'm tired,
Yeah.
or I'm hungry for my own way, or
Yes.
and it stops being intimacy with Jesus, or time in the Word, or
Yep.
time in conversation with Him, or sharing my story with other people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we switch out hungers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that affects us too.
It's interesting though too. I actually was riding with a young adult yesterday. My husband and I we were going out to this place with another young adult, and I was saying though I think that there's a little bit of like I wonder, and I'm not in those settings, so like it's kind of funny. Like I'm the young adult pastor, but I'm not necessarily invited into those settings of like
Yeah,
what they're doing, and I think that's a challenge, like as a leader, to like let that go. And like, I think it can be lonely. Like, I think it can be lonely in leadership. And at the
hmm,
same time, like you're celebrating like all these good things that are happening that you're not necessarily like orchestrating, but you've helped to connect people. And
hmm,
so there's like this weird tension in that. But then the other piece is like I was saying to this young adult yesterday, I was like, I also think there can be this danger where like, you're also going from thing to thing to thing in a given week. So like you're involved in five or
yeah,
six Bible studies, and it's like, okay, that's good and it's good to be hungry, but what is God doing out of that? Like,
yeah,
is it that we're just doing this, or are we
yeah,
actually looking outward focused? So I've been having like not deep conversations, but just like asking some of those young adults and saying like, challenging without like deeply challenging,
yeah,
but in that, like, are you going and getting other people that you're including into
mhm,
that fold? Or
mhm,
do you have eyes to see outside of that to serve? Or because I think there's also this danger that like you want to feel something and you want to grow and learn,
yeah,
and which is good, but there's like a tension in that. So
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. Have you seen that at all with any of like the young adults that you've worked with?
Yeah, yeah, and not just in young adults, but yeah, for sure that there is we have some that are part of our young adult ministry that they like go to another church, but there's really nothing there as far as for young adults, and so that's why they're part of our group. So
Yep.
we don't see them like on Sunday. We see them on Tuesday night, but not on Sunday. And so and that's okay. But I remember a few months ago talking with a young adult married couple, and they really needed to make some decisions about the groups, like the Bible studies that they were gonna be in. It was like I think it was at least 3 a week
Yeah.
that they were in, and okay, that's cool. But the analogy that I use is like you ever I don't go to the gym, right? So like I'm not an exercise guy, but like I imagine like people who go to the gym and they just get so strong, like
Yeah.
so gigantic, and I'm like, that's cool, but what is that for? What are you
Right.
using all that, like all
Yeah.
the information and the growth and the learning? Like, oh yeah, you really have you're able to like exegete Leviticus. Cool.
Right.
But
Right.
what is it for? What are you doing with it? Like you were saying, like what's the outplay of it?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people mistakenly confuse like information gathering with discipleship. Like I
Yes.
know more about the Bible, and that's not discipleship. That's not growing in grace and growing in holiness and growing in love and service. I mean, just
Right.
knowing stuff is not really where it's at, unless there's a specific outflow of that learning and growth. So yeah, but yeah, I see it here too.
Yeah, and there's a like I have this tension, I think as a young adult pastor, like when I'm like just walking around stores or like I'm out, like in this Lansdale area or whatever. And it's this is part of the reason I own a donut truck. I have these eyes to see like there are so many people that are walking around that like don't have what we have, right? So like when I see the Sarahs, that's the girl that came to Christ a year ago,
Mhm.
and I see the transformation that happens, I think, okay, that could literally rock a whole community.
Yeah.
So I think there's this like, like I have this dream that we're going to have, like, I don't have a dream to like collect a bunch of young adults, like for the sake of saying we have hundreds of young adults at our event or
Yeah.
at our programming. But I have this dream in my mind that like there is power in numbers, right? Like,
Mhm.
so the more young adults you get into a space, the more inspiring that is to the people around.
Mhm.
But now the challenge is because they've created some of this stuff that's so good and where they're finding community and they're finding depth in their faith is like, how do we also buy in though to the greater commission, like
Mhm.
the Great Commission that
Yeah.
God is saying, like, go and make disciples,
Yeah.
find these people out there and don't just stay in here. And so I'm like really praying about that and
Yeah.
going, like, how do you, do I create that through our church ministry?
Yeah.
Like, do I change something up here
Yeah.
or do I keep empowering these guys to like go out and get the people and bring them to the things that they're doing? And it's not that they're not coming to my stuff, like not all of them are, but there's overlap in that. But I think I just am constantly thinking with this brain of like, but there's so many young adults that are out there that are feeling lonely, that have no sense of purpose,
Yeah.
no sense of direction, no community. And so how do we go and like move beyond ourselves,
Yeah.
So I think that's a challenge. That's like a challenge, I think,
Mhm.
for at least where my group is at. And like, yeah, I think young adult ministry as a whole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The underside of community that we have to really be careful about is that community makes us comfortable, and it is a really wonderful thing to be a part of. But then if you grow comfortable in the community, then you're more liable to just kind of like, I don't know, like shut the door on
yeah,
community inadvertently. You don't mean to, but you're like, I really found this great group of people and I feel so connected to them. Then that itch gets scratched, so to speak, and you stop looking outward. You stop wanting to engage more people. And so comfort is kind of it's something that we don't really talk a lot about, but it's kind of the hidden danger in
yes,
having like fellowship and community,
yeah,
because we can just circle up and it's a great community, but it's not living out, like kind of like what you're saying about like people just go to Bible study upon Bible study upon Bible study, but there's no like outward facing dynamic of that
right,
that
right.
engages other people. Like, what difference does this community make in my daily interactions with people who aren't a part of a spiritual community, and how can I influence and impact them? I think that's for young adult leaders, that's a balance that we need to strike.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, have you seen any other challenges in your ministry that you feel like with young adults or that they're facing the most?
Um, that's definitely one. I do think for our ministry, we do have a good sense of community. But if I had to guess, I think we're always teetering on that edge of this is who we are and we like it that way,
Yeah.
rather than God's doing something among us and he wants us to continue on this great commission that he's given to us. So I really feel like we're kind of always on the edge, that danger line of getting so wrapped up in the beauty of community and the wonderful friendships that it brings about, that we lose sight of but what about the one lost sheep that's out there that we're supposed
Right.
to go and look for. So it does happen, but there's always, as young adult ministry leaders, there's always more. And I don't know if we're ever really satisfied or really settled, as leaders who we want to like continue to like put our hands on people's backs and just continue to push them forward. And I think that just goes along with the territory
Yeah.
of being a ministry leader. But yeah, I see a lot of the same things here, as you were explaining. One thing that has developed in the last couple of weeks, I guess, or last few weeks, was actually my oldest son. He's part of our young adult community. He put together. You probably heard of Group Me. He put together like kind of this like group, anybody, everybody, almost like this organic, unofficial place for people can post like their, hey, we're going out to dinner, or we're going to see a movie, or
That's cool.
whatever. And like if anybody else wants to go, like it's not like a program of the young adult ministry. It's just a place where young adults can say like, oh, we're going to Chili's for I'm going to Chili's for dinner. If I'm going to be there at this time, if anybody wants to, I don't know, jump
I
in.
love
So it's
that.
another iteration of wanting like more connection. And I think it also helps just the social life. Because a lot of times you hear about something that some friends did, and you're like, oh, that would have been cool. I would have loved to be a part of that. So I think it's kind of that, and very like low hanging fruit as far as like, it's just, hey, I'm gonna go to this place, and I'm gonna go on this hike, or whatever.
I love that.
Yeah,
I
anybody else want to join in? So anyway, that speaks to more of the desire for better connections and like
yeah.
getting to know people more. And I think it could even be an open door for someone who's not involved in the young adult community. It's almost like at Starbucks there's always that bulletin board where people
Yeah.
like just stick things. I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. I'll try that.
Well, it's funny because the more that our young adults hang out and find that sense of community, this age bracket of like 35 to 45-year-olds are like, can we come on this? Can we
Yeah,
come to this? Can we come hang out? And I'm like, well, I can, you're like you're not really that age, and I've got a
yeah,
lot of leaders already,
yeah,
but it just goes to speak to like everybody is in that setting,
yeah,
of looking for community, and like the loneliness epidemic is real.
yeah,
So yeah, that's cool. I love
yeah,
that idea. And I feel like that would be so easy to do
yeah.
and
Oh yeah, yeah.
really, really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I really love that that was his thing. Like that was his idea. He just, came up with it. He set it up, and then at our next Tuesday night, he just, we announced it, let everybody know about it. He had a QR code made up for people to just like scan and be a part of it. And now
It's really
anybody can just post like, yeah, we're going to the movies, or we're, going to play pickleball. Anybody wants to join in.
I
So,
love that. I
yeah.
love
Yeah, but I think it speaks to, this is the hunger,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
they have
That's true.
for relationships that transform us more into Christ and fellowship and like that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, all right,
True.
that was good. That was
Yeah.
one question.
I know I was looking thinking, did we answer one question,
Yeah,
two questions?
we did.
Sure.
It might be a combination of a couple, but
Yeah.
um,
That's awesome. Checking those out.
you know, we're both reading our questions.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is going to answer a question, but one of the other things I think I've noticed about young adult ministry, because I think that was a question you and I talked about, but is just like how how little fluff is needed. I
Mhm.
say fluff, but
Yeah,
like bigness
yeah,
is needed. Like I
yeah.
don't think it's needed, and I'm really realizing like we just came off of a young adult retreat, like
Mhm.
right before I think it was a week before Easter. We had about 50 young adults like from our church at this retreat for the weekend, and we kept everything really stripped down. Like even the speaker that I brought in is a friend of mine, and he's just really humble and like he's not like a charismatic like dropping all this crazy stuff. Like he's a storyteller and he's very personal. But we also had like just had stripped down worship. Like it was literally like a guitar and a couple singers.
Mhm.
And I've noticed in some of what we're doing, like with that, and we do a thing called Open Door, which is a worship night once a month, and it's again like a guitar and a singer. Like it's
Mhm.
super stripped down. But I've started to use that space to like ask reflective questions and let people share. And I think that
Mhm.
I think with that desire for community and that desire to like grow in the relationship with God, like there's such a hunger to just be in God's presence.
Yeah.
And to not be like, and I just like, I find this so interesting. And I guess this is to more so to encourage anybody from a church that might be listening. How do we do young adult ministry? But like, they're not looking for this, like,
Yeah.
I don't think they're
Right.
looking for this huge, big worship
Yeah. Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're looking for, and it's been hard for me because I think in those spaces, like, there's so many times where I'm like, well, should I get up and give like a sermon or should I get up and like,
Mhm.
and I think they're really just looking for dialogue and like
Mhm.
to be in God's word and like to be able to talk that out.
Mhm.
And I just think that's really beautiful. So this worship thing that we do, Open Door, there's been a lot of really crazy seasons where it just was like you walk away and you're like, oh my gosh, should we keep doing this?
Hmm.
And we have just been in this sweet season, and it's probably only like, I don't know, 20 to 25 people max that are in that space. This sweet season where like I just feel like you can feel the Holy Spirit and you can feel the hunger, and people are honest when they share.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that I'm learning, like just with young adults, is like, one, I think it takes some time for things to take, but two, it also doesn't take as much like pomp and circumstance. I don't, that's
Yeah.
probably not the right pomp and
Yeah.
circumstance, but like, fanfare or
Yeah.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
it is this stripped down just hunger for the
Yeah.
Lord. I just think
Yeah.
that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to be in some cool spaces to experience that. So
Yeah.
I'm really encouraged by that.
That's great.
Take
Yeah.
some pressure off, I think, as a leader too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just really cool.
As a young adult ministry leader, I really love the autonomy that so many young adult communities kind of produce for themselves.
Yeah.
I remember when I started the very beginning and met with a handful of young adults, I remember them saying like, "This isn't youth group part two. We don't
Yeah.
want any of that. We don't need like programs. We don't need really anything." And so I think sometimes, as well, I'll speak for myself, sometimes my tendency is to overcomplicate the approach to young adult ministry
Yes.
rather than just like, hey, I'm gonna be at this Starbucks if
Yep.
you want to meet for a conversation or a Bible study, whatever. It really can be the simplest approach, and that's oftentimes the best approach
Yeah.
because sometimes the structure of a program is really kind of antithetical to what the young adult life is looking for. It's not
Yep.
really looking for more consumption
And-
of
yeah.
program.
And I will say, I think because you came out of youth ministry, we
Yeah.
have, you and I both have a longevity in youth
Hmm.
ministry.
Hmm.
I think that's been one of the biggest challenges for
Yeah.
myself. Like, because I think in your mind, you think like, but I've got to create this program. I've got to have this like perfect thing that people are coming to, or it's going to feel like I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
I really like, I mean, I just talked to my senior pastor last week and was like, I think I'm finally starting to see like, it's okay to be a connector of people. It's okay to create spaces where like things can happen organically if that doesn't point back in my direction.
Yeah.
And that's how to like be like a pride thing for me. I think
Yeah.
of like really laying down my pride to say like, you do not need to be the center of this ministry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it's not your job to like create a ministry around yourself, or even relationally create a ministry where
Yeah.
everybody's connected to you.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm at a big church, and it's the biggest church I've ever been a part of in my ministry career. And the more that our church is like growing and like people are coming to Christ, and it's awesome, but the more that it grows, the more I realize like, yeah, you like in youth ministry, you're just so central to everybody, I
Hmm.
feel like.
Yeah.
And I think that's a mindset shift. And I really feel
Yeah.
like that's like something God's been pressing on me, and
Hmm.
it's been hard to give that up.
Yeah.
But being able to like step out of it and take yourself out and then look and go, but God has done this and this and this and this is just like, I even like, I called my dad the other day and was just, I call him a lot. He's also a pastor, and had gotten to work, and I just sat in my car and I just wept and was like, Dad, God is doing so many cool
Mm.
things. And like, we just get to be along for the ride,
Yeah.
like we see this stuff happen, and it doesn't necessarily revolve around me. And that's
Mhm.
a good thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, young adult ministry is so different. And I think the average person looking to start something is looking like, I don't know, maybe not everybody, but I think a lot of people are like, but I don't have the band. I don't have, this
Yeah.
space. I don't have the coolness factor.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really, really feel like the Lord is like pressed in to go like, it's not about you,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you think you can orchestrate.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. That's
Like
really,
that.
really so true. The last couple of weeks on our Tuesday nights, we split into two age groups. There's 18 to 21 and then 22 and over. And they have separate like conversation, discussion, Bible study kind of things. And the last couple of weeks, like I will literally like leave while that's going on. It's probably 30, 40 minutes worth of that. I will literally leave because number one, I find myself wanting to like interject in the discussion and shouldn't a lot of times, or it will be that like there's still this sense of like, well, what does Jerry think? Or Jerry, what's the answer to this question? So I have had to like, and it's not easy, but like totally take myself out of either one of the group because I would kind of ping pong back and forth. And I'm literally just like, I'm out of both of them. And, and then I just kind of, and we get back together, at the end, and they're still sharing about like, what so-and-so said or how helpful that was for them. Or so it's a good reminder, like I do want to be pastoral and I do want to care for them as a pastor, certainly. And I want to nurture, spiritually, but I don't have to always be the one who is like in the mix of these conversations. And I think it also empowers them and lets them know, like, you can minister to people. You can, share what God is doing in your life. And that creates a really powerful flow into somebody else's life and encourages them as well. So I don't know if I'm always going to do that, but I'm in this season of like really just kind of hands off in terms of like the group dynamic. So yeah, I think that's an important dynamic for young adult ministry leaders to remember. Just you gotta take time or a season or regularly scheduled where you're not even part of it. Like you're not even. Yeah, we had a serve day. I happened to be that was when I was in Nebraska, but the young adults were leading the way in a serve day for our community, like a community service day. And I was just so proud of the fact that like I'm not even the same state, and they crushed it. It was amazing for them to do that. So yeah, youth ministry or young adult ministry leaders, just be encouraged that sometimes you need to kind of like just back away. Like that meme of Homer backing into the bushes. Yeah, we just need to be like that sometimes.
Be like Homer.
Yeah, be like Homer. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That teaches you all sorts of wild stuff. So
yeah.
Sure.
Well, the question, what are you most encouraged about in young adult ministry these days? I feel like we kind of like have danced around that, and we've talked about it a little bit, but let's see. What has been the most challenging thing about young adult ministry lately?
Man, I mean, I think just a little bit of what we just talked about, but just like holding them loosely. I would say young adults are like holding sand.
Yeah.
And holding them loosely, not stressing about like not getting caught up not getting caught up as to whether or not everything that's going on with the young adult group or with the young adults or whatever. And I think also just that fluency of like jumping from thing to thing. So sometimes I think it's a challenge when like we have new young adults that come into our church every Sunday, and I want to invite them to what we're doing, but our core young adults aren't always there, because they serve or they've started their own stuff, or like there's various reasons. So I think that can be a challenge. And then also just sometimes like you want them to make different decisions, and I think it's kind of like being a parent, right? But like you can't always speak hardcore into that. Like so much of young adult ministry is just journeying with them where they are. And I think like taking your hands off and just going like, all right, I'm here as like a guide. I'm here to come alongside, but I don't need to dictate what they do. I think that's a challenge sometimes too, because they're trying to figure stuff out, and they don't always make the best of decisions financially or job wise or dating wise, so to just, I think that can be a challenge. And I think, just because everything's happening so much later in life, like, I think young adults are challenged to like, they're trying to figure everything out, and they feel like they should have it all figured out, but they don't. And I think just helping them to know, like, you don't have to have it all figured out right off the bat. We're at 25 or 26 or 27, like just walking that out with them and with their families. I think is a challenge, because sometimes families panic. So
it's so funny. It's so funny that you use this expression of sand, and holding holding young adults loosely. Because as I was looking over, we were texting last night, and I had these questions in front of me. To this question, this is going to sound really weird, and it's an unformed analogy, so it's going to maybe fall apart right before our very eyes. But I had the word gravel in when I was reading this question, and I thought about, I don't know if you ever try to push a car, like let's say you're out of gas or whatever, or it broke down, and you're pushing a car. When there's gravel under your feet, it makes it really difficult to like get like momentum because you kind of keep slipping on this gravel. And so forgive me for this weird analogy. It's the way my brain works. Like I think in pictures. And so there's this sometimes in young adult ministry, there's the gravel of relationships, or there's the gravel of busyness, or there's the gravel of like uncertainty about the future, or there's a gravel of financial like irresponsibility. There's a gravel of unrequited love and like romance that isn't going anywhere. And so there's kind of this stuff, and none of it's bad. It's just like, this is just the stuff of life that makes it difficult to like push things forward, just as far as like I don't know, spiritual community or even just like ministry fruitfulness. And none of it's big, none of it's bad. It's just the stuff that can get in the way. It's almost like little like side missions or like little side quests or mini games, like to use a gaming analogy. It's like something that's not the main thing. It's just like a side thing that is happening. And I have found that that's a big challenge in young adult ministry, is kind of just like keeping everybody in a healthy perspective on all of these little pieces of gravel that are not the main thing, but can be true and real when it gets under your feet. And you're kind of like, oh, I'm struggling to like feel like I'm moving forward because I got this, whatever it is, this thing.
I think that's so true. There's also a little bit of like, I found this in a couple of conversations I've had, and maybe that speaks to the stuckness of whatever's under, like that metaphor or whatever you're using. But sometimes I feel like young adults just need to like take a step.
Yeah.
It's like they're I don't know, they're spinning their wheels.
Right, exactly.
And they're waiting. Yeah. And then sometimes I think it turns into this like over spiritualization of like, well, I'm just waiting on God. And it's like,
right.
Okay, but no, you probably should just get a job of some sort, Like I'm waiting for this perfect thing to come along. And it's like, but in the meantime, like we have this responsibility that like God's also given us a brain, and he's given us like hands and feet, and like, but I think sometimes stuckness, I think people like to stay in that. I think young adults and you like to stay in it.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of stuff with coaching with that too. It's like, you just need somebody to just push you out of that a little bit to go, but just try this. And then once they try something, unlock something. I feel like there's a lot of this like spinning of wheels and waiting. And there's this tension, right? Of like waiting on what God wants for your life, but also like, you also have a responsibility to like take a step. And part of our job is to like, as leaders, I think that's a really cool part that like, without like, being a jerk about it, to gently guide our young adults to call them out of the stuckness. Yeah. Because it's one thing like to be like, okay, all this stuff is happening, but also like, sometimes I think they just need to be reminded, like you can take a step in a healthy direction. Yeah. Even if that's not the final step. Like, So I've had a couple conversations of that where I'm like, I feel like we're on repeat.
That's true. Yeah. But Andrea, I'm oppressed by the spirit of laziness, and the demon of procrastination is haunting me. And I'm like, nah, no, you're just lazy.
Yeah. And I will say, I mean, there's a book, The Coddling of the American Mind. Have you read that? I think that's Okay, that's a great book.
Okay.
I think we've created a culture of that.
Oh, yeah.
And so we are kind of where we are sometimes because we created that. But I think it's our job as pastors. And I think sometimes I tend to be blunt. So if somebody wants like advice, they know I'm going to get blunt advice from me. But I think our job as pastors and leaders too is to like, again, call them up and call them out. Yeah. Whatever they're in. Yeah. Like you still can do that while waiting on God.
Yeah. Right.
And I think sometimes we're afraid of that. I think as leaders, we get afraid of that. But I actually think young adults want more mentorship and more like of that wisdom from seasoned and older adults than what we
Yeah.
give them credit for. And
Yeah.
part of that is really not just listening all the time, but as you listen, to also ask questions that will
Yeah.
lead to something different.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. If I can throw this example in, this, I mean, it certainly includes young adults, but not limited to. I preached yesterday, and the message, we're in a series called Becoming, and yesterday's theme was like becoming free. And I would kind of landed on the whole idea of a freedom story. What is your freedom story? If you're following Christ, you have a freedom story. He set you free from sin and from shame and your past, and then he set you free for all of these things. I don't remember the last time I have had so many people come to me directly, like right after I get done preaching, with that sentiment. Like, they were blown away at the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
And they needed somebody to really, in love, like kick them in the butt and say,
Yeah.
God has done something in your life, and He expects you to use that for the good of other people,
Yes.
to impact other people's lives. And it was almost like this super simplistic, like, well, duh. I think it just needed to be, and it wasn't about me in the sermon. It just needed, somebody needed to say,
Yes.
we are set free for the purpose of being free, says Galatians 5, verse 1. And we're set free so that we can share our freedom story. It's not for you to like keep it to yourself. So it was a
Right.
really good example of the very thing that you're talking about, because I do think as leaders, our responsibility and expectation is that we are lovingly just kind of like pushing people forward
Yeah.
into the things that maybe they are a little hesitant toward, but as I've said many, many times, the enemy works super, super hard to convince you that there's a concrete wall in front of
Yeah.
you, when
Yeah.
when in reality it's really just a thin piece of tissue paper. And if you just will move forward, you're going to realize like, oh, it really wasn't all of that I thought it was. And now you're in a new level of like obedience and surrender and usefulness to God. So you touched on something really, really important. That's a good reminder for me as a pastor to young adults, because I want to be that kind of person. I
Yeah.
don't want to just be like a cruise ship activity coordinator or
Exactly.
director. Like, I want to be like, hey, no, we're going this way. And I want you, God wants you to come this way. We're going on this journey together. So don't just sit and consume. Like, what's the next step that God
Right.
would have you take in your life? And it'll look different for different people, but I think as leaders, we want to always call them to the next step of obedience and service and surrender. So that's a
Yeah.
really good reminder.
That's really good.
Good. Okay.
Good.
Good. Well, we have talked our heads off,
We
Andrea.
have.
What a great conversation. My prayer is that this episode has been some type of encouragement, or if there was some insight for a young adult or a young adult ministry leader or pastor. I'll just speak for both of us. Like, we're available to you if there's ever anything that you can leave a comment. We'll get back to you if you ever want to call us up. We'd love to talk about young adult ministry in any way that we can support and encourage you. So next time will be episode 11, and Devin George will be with us, and that'll be really, really fun. So thank you everybody for watching the Pivotal Podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, I mean, there's no reason not to. It's free, right? Yeah. And then you'll get notified for our next episode. But Andrea, thanks so much for the great conversation. Always love chatting with you, my friend. And yeah,
Okay.
good luck in that donut world too.
Thank you.
All right. See you next time, everybody. Thanks for joining in the Pivotal Podcast, where we talk about young adults with young adults.